he was as effective in the last couple innings as he was at any time throughout the game. I keep track of how many pitches he throws per inning. I keep track of sort of the effectiveness of it. And you look at the 7th and 8th inning, he's got 5 punch-outs in a row with a pretty electric stuff. And I think his best fastball might have been in the 9th with adrenaline pumping. So he earned every opportunity to finish that. Obviously, the game, having the 3rd run was big in the decision making, but I'm glad he finished it.
You look at a no-hitter from a guy like him who doesn't have the high profile against a team like that, who does a very high profile. Is it improbable at all?
Improbable? No, he's a big leaguer, man. This guy's a really good pitcher. He might be unheralded, or he might be under the radar, or he might not be a household name. But you talk around the league, he's had plenty of double-digit punch-out games. He's been very, very effective. The last couple of years. So I mean, no-hitters in general are improbable, but take nothing away from Fiers against that team. He's a tough guy to hit when he's executing the way he executes, when he pitches above the zone with a good carry fastball, and his breaking ball was as good as we've seen it, obviously in the 3 outings, but it's as good as advertised.
Was there a point when you recognized the breaking ball was as good as it?
Midway through the game, it looked like his stuff got a little bit more effective. He was fighting his delivery a little bit early, falling off a little bit. Ball was carrying a little bit high. He yanked a couple balls into Utley. But it looked like he was settling in midway through the game, where he was starting to land his breaking ball when he wanted to, backdoor and back foot. So it was just an incredible performance.
Was there a point in the game where you realized that, hey, he might have a chance to get this done?
I don't think you ever think that until the very, very end. I mean, the 7th and 8th inning were as impressive of a combo of innings as you can get. I mean, he had a little bit extra. He had some emotion. He had some finish, punch outs. It's hard to punch 5 guys out in a row any point during the game, let alone in the middle of a 3-run lead against the Dodgers, with a no-hitter intact. So. Obviously I'm balancing the no-hitter versus the game in hand. So I guess I never really thought that he wasn't going to get it, given how he was pitching. But it's never easy to finish.
What's the scene like after the game, and what's it like in the dugout? Is anybody talking to him? Is everybody staying away from him?
It's the same routine. We were doing the same thing we always do. I didn't sense any form of superstition or fear or anything like that. He has a routine that he goes down underneath, cools himself off, and then comes back up during the inning. All these starters have different routines in between innings, and he didn't really break his. He was very approachable. I talked to him every inning. It wasn't like I ruined it. We just continued to try to win the game. That's what we were trying to do, was win the game. The no-hitter was incredible on top of that.
Looking at his pitch count later on, was there any kind of discussion or thoughts, because he was approaching like 100 pitches?
Yeah. So in the beginning of the game, he was at 50-something pitches through, I think, almost 3 innings in the 2nd and 3rd innings. So I always pay attention to that to see sort of how it's going to map out the rest of the game. I think there were a lot of people that were wondering how high I was going to let him go, and I don't have to answer that, which is good. I've got a no-hitter in my book, a little higher than 130, whatever. So, but obviously I talked to him in between innings. I saw how, I wanted to see how fatigued he was, but he was in control at the end. He had plenty left in his tank, and I also had a lot of information. McCullers is coming on Sunday. We have an off day next Thursday. There's some extended rest here where I could lean on him a little bit harder, and the way he was pitching, I felt like he'd earned the opportunity.
Is that decision easier to make regarding the pitch count because he's an older player, a veteran player? Is it more difficult if you're in that spot with a younger pitcher, obviously?
Yeah, I would say in general. I would never classify it as an easy decision. With the exception of you got to know your players. I've had to get to know Mike a little bit faster than some of the other guys, but obviously there's a lot of what ifs. If it's a younger pitcher, how he got there. Not every 120, 130, 135 pitches are treated the same. I look down here at. After the 2nd, he didn't go past 18 pitches. He went once. He went 13 pitches in most of his innings. So he wasn't really taxed at any point, after the 2nd inning till the 6th inning when he got the big punch out. So I pay attention to all that stuff and watch the fatigue level, you know, in their face, in their arms, in his stuff, and none of that gave any indication that he was tiring.
Hey, Jay, he worked the upper edge of the strike zone very effectively, yet only 3 fly ball assist outs, 2 in the last inning. How do you?
Well, he also got some punch outs. I mean, there's some swing and miss up there too. So I think he got his outs in a lot of different ways, but more than anything, he finished hitters. I think he had all his pitches. He had all 4 of his pitches going. He had a good changeup tonight. He cut the ball when he needed to. He pitched above the zone for effectiveness. Off of that high fastball was the high curve, or at least the start the high curve that finished in the strike zone. So he pitched. He used every quadrant of the strike zone against a good club.
How does this fit into the story of your season, if you've even thought about that? You know, does this have an effect going forward?
No, I mean it's very emotional for our guys. I mean we're thrilled with the outcome. I mean anytime a huge accomplishment like this resonates, you know, 1 through 25 through our coaching staff, through the fans, the organization. The fans were loud at the very end. I mean it's a great energy boost in August when things are starting to heat up the most. So where it fits in, I mean we got to finish the, you know, sort of finish the season before we can accurately place it, but. There's a lot of proud guys in there for Mike and for our club, and you know, hopefully that's good energy for the rest of the series and into next week on the road.
Were you nervous at all in the 9th inning?
Nervous?
Yeah. For him or yourself?
I'm being nervous. I was pretty excited. You know, he fights so hard to get to that point. You want him to finish it. You know, I mean, obviously he's walking into a territory that he's never been on, and there's so many people that are rooting for him to finish strong and get the outcome that he got. So I wouldn't classify it as nervousness as much as I would, you know, genuine excitement. And I wanted the game to end. I wanted to win 3-0 with a no-hitter, and we did.
Is there an irony that there was so much talk with you before the game about Greinke and Kershaw, and we see that anything can happen on one day?
Yeah, I mean, these guys, I mean, this is a good league. There's a lot of players in this league that, you know, that step up to the moment. Obviously, tonight's Mike's night, and so whether it's ironic or not, I mean, it's a fun league. There's a lot of good players in this league, not just your marquee guys.
This is the first no-hitter you've been involved in, right?
I managed a no-hitter in Arizona, Edwin Jackson.
Could be a little less tense in our media gathering tomorrow.
It's a little better than getting shut out with a 98 pitch, complete game. So I'll be good tomorrow. You guys will enjoy me tomorrow.